amongst conservationists. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. But before he...
But the challenges, and these are some of the ones that we've identified in the room, in the report. The wrong people in the room. All too often you go to conferences, you go to meetings, and the people talking about organized crime, talking about transnational syndicates, are conservationists or government officials in environmental departments. The police agencies are often absent from those meetings, and this is a global problem. You need the right people to be in that room. You need the people that can actually make a difference in that room. You have agreements being signed between environmental agencies, between governments on law enforcement. But those agreements are being signed by environmental ministries, often the most junior ministries, not by safety and security or policing departments. The silo effect. You have fragmentation of information, people policing their own backyard, not sharing information internationally. And this certainly has been a problem with relations between Vietnam and South Africa, for instance, where law enforcement agreements have been signed, but there's been very little information sharing coming back from Vietnam. There's some pressure on Vietnam currently to report back on hunting trophies from pseudo-hunts because they haven't accounted for that. And there's been very little information. Samples of rhino horn that were sent back to South Africa for testing went missing. Attempts by South African officials to bring samples back were not granted by the Vietnamese authorities. Crime intelligence, which is key. That should be the ultimate, one of the key agencies dealing with police crime intelligence. And in South Africa, we've had years of maladministration, corruption, political infighting. The police crime intelligence units become a political tool in many cases. And then I think the biggest challenge here for law enforcement is that these are networks without borders. These are criminal networks that operate easily across international boundaries. They operate easily across multiple legal jurisdictions. They're not bound to the same strictures that law enforcement authorities are bound to. And inevitably, they 10-12 steps ahead of law enforcement. There's also, sustaining all of this, a steady trade in weapons that have been stolen in other crimes, weapons from government stockpiles, and also in the last few years, a thriving trade in weapons rentals. Individuals who rent out weapons to poachers and make them available and then rent them out to the next gang.